Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. Many people are looking in all the wrong places for spiritual victories. They are looking to their denomination to provide victories. They are looking to their elders to provide victories. They are looking to their preachers to provide victories. Some are even looking to their government to find victories. When Israel was faithful towards God, they looked in none of these places for victories. Instead, they placed their trust in the Lord. Psalms 44 is going to be talking about physical victories that Israel had over her enemies and why this was. For the Christian, we're going to be learning about spiritual victories and where these come from. So if you have a Bible with you, you can turn to the book of Psalms. We're going to be in Psalms 44. What we're going to be reading today is verses 1 to 8. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Psalm 44, beginning at verse 1. To the chief musician, a contemplation of the sons of Korah. We have heard with our ears, O God, our fathers have told us the deeds you did in their days, in days of old. You drove out the nations with your hand, but them you planted. You afflicted the peoples and cast them out, for they did not gain possession of the land by their own sword, nor did their own arm save them. But it was your right hand, your arm, and your light, and the light of your countenance, because you favored them. You are my king, O God. Command victories for Jacob. Through you we will push down our enemies. Through your name we will trample those who rise up against us. For I will not trust in my bow, nor shall my sword save me. But you have saved us from our enemies, and have put to shame those who hated us. In God we boast all day long, and praise your name forever. For the second time in Psalms, we have a psalm written by the sons of Korah, who were Levites involved in temple worship, some as doorkeepers, but some obviously as songwriters. There is some dispute as to when this psalm was written, with some placing it during the struggles of the Maccabean time period in about the 2nd century BC. However, this psalm could easily describe a time much earlier in Israel's history, and with the sons of Korah mentioned, it was likely written during the time period of David, at one of the times that Israel was being harassed during David's reign. This psalm is meant to remind Israel where her true strength lies, and hint, it was not with themselves. It begins by saying that Israel has heard with their ears things that their fathers have told them of old. Today, many view the stories contained in the Old Testament, especially the early Old Testament books, as myth, or at the very least, heavy embellishment. Such was not the case for Israel here. They had heard the stories told to them about what God did for their fathers in leading them out of Egypt and giving them the promised land by his mighty hand, and not because their army was so powerful. They regarded this as true, as fact. They heard about how Israel defeated the armies of Sihon and Og and obtained the land east of the Jordan. They heard about how the walls of Jericho came crashing down through the power of God and through the might, and that the mighty nations of Canaan, due to their sin, were dispossessed of their land by God himself. These victories would have been impossible without God, but with God, all things were possible. But they didn't simply hear these stories. They believed these stories as being able to teach them lessons of their own. Namely, that if they had faith in God, that God would provide his people the same victory. God wouldn't do that if Israel trusted in her bows or swords to save them. But he would do that if Israel placed their trust in him to save them, just as they had done in the past. Now, for readers of the Bible, we might think that this should come as easy for Israel due to all of the miracles that God performed. But we forget, God did not always perform miracles. Israel fought against mightier armies of the Amorites than them. God performed no miracle, and yet, because Israel trusted in God, they went and fought, and God provided them victory. At Jericho, yes, the walls came tumbling down miraculously, but Israel still had to fight and had to trust that God would give them victory. People think that miracles would make things easier for people to believe. However, in some ways, they make it harder because people would just expect God to act miraculously, meaning that they have to do nothing. It's hard to place your trust in a God you have not physically seen when faced with life and death against a much stronger army than you. The devil is very good at striking fear into our hearts and getting us to look only at the moment and not the future. If Israel was to win the battle that the psalmist was referring to, then Israel would have to learn from their past, place their trust in God for victory, which in the end would allow them to praise the Lord's name forever for his goodness and protection. Even though David was their physical king, God needed to be their king in order for them to be seen, to be seen through to the other side. And the same is true spiritually for the Christian. We face battles with sin each and every day. We could choose to go it alone and then become depressed and upset with ourselves when we fail, or we could seek the Lord's help, look for his way of escape, and overcome sin the same way Jesus did, through the revealed word. Trusting in the Lord for our spiritual victories requires us to learn from the histories of the past that demonstrate and prove God's faithfulness, his power, and his might to provide total victory. And then we need to take what we learn and apply those lessons in our lives to live out those lessons. Should we do this, we wouldn't be seeking excuses as to why we continue to sin. We would glorify God as to how he is able to deliver us, always. We'll continue with Psalm 44, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Psalm 44, verses 9 to 26, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.